Warm welcome to you all. So we are already 4 minutes past the scheduled time. So this is a very good time to start. And again, I repeat, it's a busy schedule. I'm sure most of the schools are having examination, and this is one such platform where we have nationwide teachers, educators joining us in. Along with that, yes, our reach is beyond the country's boundary. So we have people joining across the globe today. So thank you so much for being here today. And I'm Pallavi here from the Academic Excellence team. And this is my privilege to welcome you all today. Right. Without wasting much time, let's get into the webinar today. Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to all our educators joining us today. Every child enters the classroom with curiosity in their eyes and questions in their minds. The foundational years are a time of exploration, imagination, and rapid learning, where experience shapes understanding and joy becomes the pathway of learning. During this stage, children learn best when they are actively involved, when learning is joyful, meaningful, and rooted in real experiences rather than passive listening. Today's session is based on this belief that learning should be fun, purposeful, and experiential, especially in the foundational years, while reimagining relevant across all stages. When classrooms encourage movements, interaction, storytelling, play, and hands-on activities, children develop confidence, curiosity, and a love for learning. Our focus today is on strengthening classroom practices through the natural learning cycles of learn, engage, apply, and fun. This approach builds strong foundation in language and concepts while also nurturing creativity, social skills, and independent thinking. Skills essentially at every level of learning. With the spirit of joyful, child-centric learning, I now take the privilege to introduce the distinguished speaker of the day, Ms. Suja JK. Ms. Suja JK is an accomplished academic professional with over a decade of experience working closely with schools and educators, particularly in the area of early childhood and pre-primary education. Her work focuses on strengthening foundational learning by helping teachers translate curriculum goals into engaging, age-appropriate classroom practices. With a strong understanding of how young children learn, she has collaborated with teachers, school leaders, and academic teams to enhance teaching methodologies, classroom engagement, and learner outcomes. Ms. Suja brings valuable insights from her extensive interaction across diverse school contexts. Her approach emphasizes child-centric pedagogy, language development, conceptual clarity, and joyful learning, key elements of effective early education. She actively contributes to teacher capacity building, curriculum support, and academic excellence initiatives, with a deep commitment to empowering educators and enriching early learning experiences. Her sessions are practical, reflective, and rooted in classroom realities, making them highly relevant for foundational stage teachers. It's an honor to have you, Ms. Suja, today. Welcome you, Suja, and over to you. And teachers, it's a request. We can have the Q&A. And in between, yes, I'll be looking at from the back end. You can keep posting your chats, your informations across, and let's make this event successful. Please make it more interactive. Yes, Suja, welcome.
Thank you so much, Pallavi, for that generous, introduction. Yes, good evening, dear teachers. I hope you're not traveling back home. I hope you are safely placed somewhere. I know I'm talking to a very young, vibrant, energetic pre-primary or early years educators. Why I called you young, age no bar. When we are with children, we are always young. So thank you so much for taking off time to be with me. I'm going to share some insights into early years education. I hope you find it valuable. We are going to keep the scope of the entire session to a holistic approach to learning in early years. And that is what LEAF is all about. And how it is connected to NEP, NCF, we'll get to that towards the second half of the session. So let us begin this chapter to understand. I know you all are already doing a wonderful job. And no doubt you are carving out, you're molding generations. So I'm here just to talk about the same things and really reflect a bit about understanding why you do what you do. That is what has always been my passion too. Because once we know why we do what we do, the kind of passion, the kind of sincerity that goes into it is a completely different level. Do you agree? You can communicate to me only through emotions or something, so that I will be able to know that you are with me. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, let me just share the screen and let's begin this evening of chit chat with my young, beautiful ladies and maybe sirs also. Let me see. Okay. Pallavi, hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it's visible now.
Okay. So today, as I mentioned, the topic is LEAF, a holistic approach to pre-primary or early years of school education. So my first question to you, and only this portion I will leave the chat open, and I want to know, how does learning happen in early years? What's your thoughts? How does learning happen actually, do you think, in early years? When the child comes into your school and then you go about your teaching and learning, how do you think children learn? Any ideas? Throw conversations. Oh, Hema ma'am says conversation. Wonderful. Lovely. What else? How do children learn? Okay, sharing thoughts. Playway. Wonderful. All beautiful answers. Activities. Okay. Actions. Lovely. I told you, you already aced in your work anyway. Any more answers? How do children learn? Visual representations. Wonderful. Audio visual. Observing. Lovely. Okay. Stories. Oh, learning by doing. Wonderful. So we'll stop the chat here, but otherwise, we'll take a lot of time there. So let's begin to understand, how does learning happen in early years? The first thing that you and I have to understand, learning is emotional first and academic later. It is the emotional brain, the limbic area of the brain is very active by this time. The children learn best when? We may talk about literacy, numeracy, and so on and so forth, but that comes only later. That has to be enveloped with a lot of emotions first, where the child feels safe, loved, happy, connected. But if you have a child coming into a space where he or she doesn't feel safe, where he feels tensed about something, he has fear, and doesn't feel accepted, then that impairs learning. So we must understand the entire hard work that you and I are, planning to do with our lesson plans and all of that will not work if the child is not feeling safe, loved, and cared for. If you connect, that is the key word. That is the magic word. Connection before correction, or connection before even teaching anything. That is how the brain works. So remember one thing, even if you don't remember anything that I speak today, you must take this back, that learning is emotional first and academic later. As somebody said, play. Obviously play. It comes very naturally to a child. Do you have to teach a child play? No, absolutely not. But the problem is, when you think of play, immediately you think of learning centers, corners, toys, material, manipulatives. There is something called free play. When we talk about child-centered, it is not about leaving the child to just go about doing what he wants. What we are trying to say is, let the child lead the play. Every child is unique, and the way they react to their environment is different. They don't even need manipulatives. They can just, you might have seen, they just play with the plastic and don't think it is a time pass for them. For us, it may make no sense. You might have seen mothers cooking and, making rotis and chapatis, but the child there is playing with onions and potatoes, and with the, the dough that the mother has made. The child is pinching it, pressing it. All that is play for the child. And that time, the brain is active. The brain is absolutely learning so many things. So play is another way. So let it be free play before they move to structured play. Then language explodes in early years. Learning happens, you said conversation, that's language. You and I would have noticed children with a lot of family members at home, grandparents and things like that, which is a luxury these days. But most of us have nuclear family. But if you have a lot of people around where the children converse with one another, where they feel the warmth and they communicate. When I talk about conversing, it is not about necessarily talking in sentences. How do children start language early? Language could be non-verbal. Language could be just a smile. Language could be just a touch. That is language. Because soon after the receptive skill, the child will start expressing. And how does the child respond? By smiling, by pointing. That is language to the child in early years. But as he grows up, he starts making conversation first with sounds, syllables, and then syllables come together to make words. Then, of course, you know the journey. So language-rich environment. When I talk about language, make sure you are there in that place, very much available to children, interacting with children in every possible way, whether it be verbal, non-verbal, be there so that your attention is there and the language exchange happens. Even your environment for that matter, it should be full of language-rich environment, because conversation need not be only in the classroom. It could be outside in a play area. It could be with a primary child. It need not be in your own peer group alone. It could be a helper who comes and takes them to the washroom, who asks them to make a cue, or maybe a conductor. Everybody is talking to the child. So that language-rich environment, conversation activates thinking, emotions, memory all together. So that is why learning happens through language. And one of the most important things is senses. Do you know, this is one stage early years where it is not about only visual and auditory. It is about senses. The child absorbs the entire environment through senses, through touch, through movement, through sounds, sight, smell. Learning is happening through all of this. Why am I saying? That's why you are doing so much of hands-on learning. I told you, I'm just going to talk about what you do and why do you do it. We encourage you to have conversations with children. Find time for conversation, for storytelling, for rhymes, for language to explore. We want them to have play areas where they have a free play, then structured play. All this is for conducive environment for learning. Make your concepts around multisensorial approach, hands-on. Somebody said, activities. Make activities with movement, hands-on. That is when senses are activated and then learning happens. Finally, there is one most important thing which none of you probably thought about, and that is the consolidation of all this learning happens in sleep. It is very, very important that we make sure that children have enough sleep. You must talk to the parents of children that learning is not just in the school. If the child has to really lock in the learning, the child has to have enough sleep. If you come back, you will see if the child is sleepy, drowsy, the child will not be able to learn anything new. It replays the entire day, strengthens useful connections, removes unnecessary ones. So it is very, very important that sleep is there so that there is a memory consolidation happening there. Somebody just mentioned memory. Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Memory is, consolidated during sleep. So these are few ways. These are not comprehensive. These are just few ways of how learning happens. But today, what I would like to tell is, finally, all of these when these are happening, what's happening in the brain? That is my take today. The brain, what's happening in the brain? When you are creating these experiences around the child, actually, there are super highways that are getting connected. The child's brain has several billions of brain cells called neurons. And whenever an experience around that child is happening, the superhighways between the two neurons are getting connected, that is synapse. And on that lies the learning. So in effect, what I'm trying to say is, we as early educators must make sure that we create learning and experience around the child, so that there is superhighways in this big city called brain. There are superhighways getting connected. And because that is the foundation for future learning. Learning happens only when the synapse between the two neurons happen. And that's how it gets strengthened. So make sure that we create such an environment. And how does this synapse get connected? Every experience. If you talk about an infant, the moment he talks, he hears a sound, he touches somebody, he hears the music, singing, playing, anything. So any experience around the child is building superhighways in the brain. There is one more rule to it. Use it or lose it. Which means any superhighway which you continue to use, that becomes strong. So it is important that we understand which are the superhighways we are using. But there are some superhighways which we do not use, they fall off, or the brain cuts it off, or as we call as synapses pruning. So these are the basic things which some of you might be new, but why I'm talking about this? See, use it regularly, I said. That is why you see the pattern in early years. Children keep repeating. Have you seen a child going in a car? He will keep singing the rhyme. He is repeating, revisiting all the time. When you ask them to play, they keep playing the same games. They'll be like, zoom. Why do they do that all the time? As an adult, we may get irritated, but the child is building superhighways. So allow the child to be a child, because he is building his foundation. So daily routines, the order around, it's all creating and using those highways more strongly for a better future. Okay, so the brain keeps the frequently used pathways and the rest of it shed off, or there is pruning. Okay, we'll not get too technical, but look at this picture. Starting from the 9th month to the 2nd year, or the 3rd year for that matter, a cross section of how the neuron and the superhighways look. There is a dramatic, things happening in the brain of a small child, because for him, everything, the light, the sound, the touch, everything of around is creating synapses, creating connections. So by the end of 2 years or 3 years, when the child is about to come into pre-primary, each neuron is around 15,000 highways already built. So, we have this feeling that when the child comes in, they come in as a clean slate. No. They are already coming with super highways, okay? So remember, they have already come in with a lot of connections in their brain. So what is our job? When they come in at 3 years, from 3 to 6, that is the time they are with us in the pre-primary. So that is when we start building on these superhighways, the ones that we use become strong, and the ones that we don't use start falling away. Do you see, in 2 years and 3 years, it is the densest, because after that, falling away starts. Today, if you and I take a cross-section of this and compare ours with a 3-year-old child, we only have half of it. That is how pruning happens over the years. So what I'm trying to say is, synapse pruning is very, very important, because we are making an unorganized mechanism in the brain in the age of 2 and 3 more organized, more channelized, making a brain a machine which is efficient. And that can happen only when we, strengthen the synapse in the brain and, build the foundation for learning. So that is a very, very key thing. And how do we create these synapses is through experiences. I will talk more about it. But remember this picture, that we are in the process. What is our job? To keep strengthening the highways that are built, and automatically the falling off happens. In short, if you ask me, what is a synapse? Synapse is the connection between two neurons. It is a tiny bridge or a superhighway, however you may call it, and the learning sits on this. So the more stronger the superhighways, and those connections become the foundation for learning. And that is what they are here for. Oftentimes, we are in the rush to just talk about concepts, but we do not create experiences for these strengthening to happen. So we are going to understand how we can really help this. Now, you all know about the brain. Look at this, the left brain and the right brain. We just discussed about when children come in, what happens. Can anybody put in the chat box, when the child comes at the age of 3 years, which side of the brain would be strong? Right or left? सुपर हाईवे से मैक्सिमम कहाँ चल रहा है? राइट ब्रेन में चल रहा है कि लेफ्ट ब्रेन में चल रहा है? अच्छा, is it left brain? Okay, Sirat ma'am says right brain, some say left brain. I think right brain. Oh, lovely to see Neha ma'am. Okay, 𝐻𝐻𝑒𝑚𝑎, lovely. So, okay, see, look at the picture. See, creative, imaginative feelings, intuition, face recognition, जो दिल से जुड़ा है, वो कहाँ होता है? Right brain में होता है. Art, music, rhythm, all that the child is activated when the infancy to the time that school comes in. When the school comes in, that's when numbers, language, reasoning, problem solving, decision making, strategy, scientific temper, curiosity, discover, wonder, all of this comes in. That's the left brain. The mistake that we do is, already right brain में super highway बड़ा strong है. लेकिन if we only focus on the left brain, right brain का cut off हो जाएगा. So teachers, what I want to stress today is, I started off saying, learning is more emotional than academic. Make sure that any analytical skills that you're building, any logical things that you're building, let it be enveloped around love, bonding, feelings, creativity, imagination, wonder, curiosity. Then left brain, right brain works together. Make sure you use all the superhighways which we need in the future. It is not enough to just know your numbers, but you need values. You need right attitude. You need innovation. For innovation, you definitely need creativity. Okay, interesting chats coming in. Okay, so this is the left brain and the right brain. Now, how to create, what should we do? अब आप बोलोगे भाई क्या करें कि synapses strong हो हमारे बच्चे में? Environment to strengthen synapses. What could be? Few tips. We discuss this. Repetition, repetition, repetition. आज के दौर में, the biggest mistake that we are doing is, we have increased our speed so much that we do not have the time to revisit anything. We don't allow the child to repeat. But brain ka functioning ऐसा है कि the child repeats connections, or the pathway that you use often becomes stronger. That is the logic of the brain. That is why you revisit the sounds, you revisit the letters, you revisit the numbers, you revisit the rhymes, you revisit the stories, everything you revisit, because एक बारी में पकड़ता नहीं है. क्यों नहीं पकड़ता है? Because this is how the brain functions. Make sure it is not because the child is dull. It is because we have not given enough, reasons for repetition. So kids deserve the chance for repetition, which is vital for the growing brain. There's something called serve and return. जैसे टेनिस में होता है. The teacher serves, the child returns. The teacher serves, the child returns. एक conversation में क्या होता है? Serve, return, serve, return. So that conversation pathway or the language pathway is getting strengthened. So remember, one environment that you should make sure when you're doing an activity, when you're teaching a concept, repeat. Then, as we discussed, stimulate the senses. Multi-sensorial, sensorial rich experiences आप create कीजिए. When you're talking about literacy, you're talking about any other, concepts, make sure that it is tactile. Make sure that there is movement. Make sure there is smell in it. Make sure there is texture in it. There is a feel in it. So when you use all of these senses, it creates an experience, then synapse happens. Okay. Next one, as I told, fostering positive emotions. Teach them in an environment of joy, love, care. Only then learning would happen, synapse would happen. Play, that also we discussed, the brain's most powerful tool is, through play alone. Moving on, now we are going to talk about what are the activities that support the synapse growth so that learning will be strong in different key domains, right? In kindergarten, it's all about domains. It's not about subjects. It is about the growth in holistic growth. It is not about subjects. It is about domains. So what are some of the examples of activities that will support the synapse growth? For that, let us look at cognitive and sensory stimulation. This is one of the key domains where we need to build activities so that there is synapse growth, so that there is learning. So how does this happen? Look at this. Builds why cognitive and sensory stimulation builds problem solving, memory, attention. इसके लिए क्या एक्टिविटीज हम कर सकते हैं? Puzzles, blocks, Lego, sorting. ये puzzles जब solve करते हैं तो क्या होता है? See, cognitive ability child का increase होता है. The child has to use an understanding what goes into, fixes into what. When you're building a block, the child gets gets tactile. The child has to understand the spatial intelligence of the blocks, the color combinations that he wants to choose, and then also the numbers. There's so many things. And the child has to pay a lot of attention and concentration and focus and balance to do these activities. Matching colors. Again, like color-coded. Worksheets आपको मिलता होगा. या फिर color-coded, you give the color and ask them to color the apple with red. So they are matching the color with the object. Sync and flow for higher UKG. Shadow play. Ice melting rays. These are activities where the child's sensory as well as cognitive. See, it is very, very important that cognitive flexibility the child develops early on. What are sensory bins? Look at the picture here. We'll talk about sensory bin in a while. This picture, the child, in the light of what we just heard, one is you're talking about numbers. The child has to understand, feel what is the value of numbers. The child immediately, with the hands-on, the synapse happen in the brain. Then the child has to focus to put it in. So again, attention. So all of these activity is actually leading to which domain development? Cognitive as well as sensory stimulation. And that is the foundation for your maths, science, whatever in the future. So make sure you give such activity. Sensory bin, you make them feel the sand. Why do we make them write letters in the sand, in the air, at the back? Why do we do? These are all for understanding things through senses. Okay, let them play with the sand, the rice, the clay, pinching of the clay, tapping of the clay, making a dough. All these are sensory activities. Yes, ma'am, sensory activities, art activity, painting, molding, all of this helps in cognitive and sensory stimulation. So what I'm trying to say is, any concept that you teach, whether it be general awareness, whether it be any other subject that you're taking, in each of these subjects, there is a scope for cognitive and sensory stimulation. Moving on, why it helps? As I told you, visual, tactile, spatial. Wonderful. Let's move on. Next domain. Next domain is language and communication. This is, as I explained to you already, strengthens language and executive function synapse. It is very important that the child takes up a task and knows to begin and to complete it. This is for future learning. You are preparing a child for future. You and I, when we are making a conversation, and when I'm making a presentation, I have a huge requirement for my executive function in the brain to be very, very strong. Otherwise, I would not know the pace with which I should communicate. Where should I start? Where should I end? When you start your classroom and you finish your classroom, there is an executive function that you are using as an adult. So the child needs it in the future. How do we build these things? By creating a language-rich environment. Storytelling. One of the most important part of kindergarten is storytelling. Reading it aloud, pretend reading, reading aloud, singing songs, rhymes, asking open-ended questions, so that the children think critically, so that they develop skills of 21st century. Role play, dramatic play. So these are the things you're already doing in the classroom. So understand that language really helps in creating synapse growth, and that is the foundation for learning. Look at a teacher communicating with a child, talking about a story, talking about characters, talking about the setting, the sound, anything and everything, communicating with the child. And how does it help? Because language-rich environments dramatically increase synaptic density in language centers. It is very, very important that language centers are activated and synapse density increases, which is important for future learning. So let's get ready for an activity. There are limitations of an online, but still we'll try to make the most of it. Okay, children, are you ready? You're going to be my classroom. So let's go for the storytelling. Are you ready for a storytelling? Okay, so children, today I'm going to talk about a story of two good friends. Do you have friends? Yes. So today, let's talk about the story of two friends. Do you want to know what's their name? Okay. Okay, say with me. Come on, say. Leo the lion. Leo the lion had a good friend. Do you know what's his name? Come on. Just say with me. Ziggy the zebra. So today we're going to talk about a story of Leo the lion and Ziggy the zebra. Okay. Leo the lion loved juicy red berries more than anything. One sunny morning, he found a big bush bursting with sweetest berries. Mine, oh mine! Oh, he happily starting to gobble them up. So, Ziggy, the zebra, by. Wow, Leo, those berries look delicious, Ziggy said. Leo just hugged the bush. Here are my berries. Ziggy looked sad. Look Leo ate more berries, but they didn't taste as good. He felt a little lonely. He looked at the bush, which still had so many berries. He thought, Ziggy's sad face. Maybe, Leo thought, sharing would be more fun. He ran to find Ziggy. Ziggy, come back. Ziggy, I have so many berries, there is enough for both of us, he called out. Ziggy's ears perked up and he trotted back. Leo showed him the bush, and together they picked the best berries, giggled and munching, and the berries tasted so sweet with a friend. Did you hear the story of two friends, Leo and Ziggy? Did you enjoy the story? Okay. Now, if you can see, this is a storytelling session where we created an experience around it. Correct? We created a character come alive for the children's imagination, creativity. They don't see. Don't make it so obvious that their imaginations are not there at all. Let them think, what is the sound of lion? Let them think, how does the zebra look? Or how does it sound? How does it talk? Let them imagine a jungle around. Okay? And then, do you see, I have written in bold some words. Can you guess why I have made them bold? What more of language can we teach? I've taken a very simple thing. What do you make out of that? Can you just send me a chat on that? What are the words, bold words? Emotions. Juicy, red, big, sunny. New words, okay? Think a little more. Emotions. Noun. Adjectives. Wonderful. So you're describing juicy berries, red berries, big bush, right? So describing words. Sunny. So you talk about, is it sunny or cloudy? Is this object big or this object big? So you discuss again language. Okay, sad. Ziggy looks sad. He was happy. You know, what's the opposite? So there are so many things. You're talking about verbs. There's so many things that around this language you can, through the story, create. Now, can you ask few questions which are open-ended questions, which are interesting questions? Can you put that in the chat box? Few interesting open-ended questions. Yes, opposite, describing words, adjectives, wonderful. How about questions? What question would you ask? Can you put it on the chat box? Okay. See, if you are taking a little time to think about children, if you ask them a question, why was Ziggy sad? Wonderful. What is the color of the lion? Imagination of the child, okay? Who loved berries more, okay? I love the question, why was Ziggy sad? Because you're connecting to the social, emotional connect of the child. And why did he walk away? Okay? Who loved the berries more? Okay? So, was Leo right when he didn't want to share? Okay? Why didn't Leo enjoy eating the berries? What happened? Why didn't he? He was very happy eating the berries. He was gobbling up, but why he didn't enjoy it? So these are the questions that can make children think and connect social, emotionally, as well as language development. What made you look for berries? A wonderful question. Sharing makes you happy. Exactly. So this is how we build around this. Okay, can we add some movement and dance to this, or maybe some music or something to it? Take up a very popular rhyme, like any tune of any rhyme, like you have. I have taken for this session just the wheels on the bus go round, and so that's the music. So I make a rhyme out of those two things. Leo and Ziggy went round and round, round and round, round and round. Leo and Ziggy went round and round, round the cherry tree. Leo and Ziggy picked the berries, picked the berries, picked the berries. Leo and Ziggy picked the berries from the cherry tree. Leo and Ziggy were best friends, best friends, best friends. Leo and Ziggy were best friends, just like you and me, just like you and me. Did you see that? Children would just love language when you create an experience around that. And that is how you make language-rich environment. Was there anything tactile? Yes. There was tactile. You can bring in objects. You can create a cherry tree, ask them to draw a cherry, color the cherry, and go and stick those cherry in a cherry tree. And then you make the children stand around the cherry tree and with hands, holding hands, go around. How Ziggy and Leo went around, let them go around. Yes, ma'am. Shagufta ma'am is right. What matters most is the happiness and the joy that you create around it. Learning automatically happens. Okay, let's move on. Next one, again, we use a lot of movement and physical play even in storytelling. Let me tell you, students, not teachers, not just the pre-primary, even for higher classes. Sports is one of the most important thing for learning. Even for class 10 and 12 students, we recommend that they spend time for play, for physical activity, because that is the time the blood flow to the brain is maximum, which helps learning, which helps synapse. So connection of motors, emotional and cognitive networks. Climbing, look at these activities. You don't have to really create fancy things. In a classroom, just keep a bench and a chair, or maybe a long pipe, and let them crawl under it, let them jump under it, hop over it. That's when physical activity happens. When your classrooms are, you prepare your timetable, make it short with in-between activities so that there is connection of motors, emotional and cognitive network happening. Only then learning will happen. So make sure outdoor free play. Yes, exactly, playway method. So why does it help? Because as I told you, blood flow to the brain. Coming to talk about social emotional stimulation. We just did a story. Didn't we get socially and emotionally connected? How do we, the story talks about so many things. The feeling of jealousy, or the feeling of envy, the feeling of loneliness, the feeling of repentance of what you did was wrong, how you can still make up, come back and be friends. That is conflict resolution. Use these things, absolutely. Make sure that you, mold their behaviors through these things. So how it builds emotional regulation and social cognition. And how does it happen? Even in a circle time. This is a beautiful time for a circle time because they need to know how to take turns. When you're playing a board game, or when you are, using a scoop to fill in a bucket, they take turns. When you're pouring water, they take turns. So that all those corporate games helps them build social and emotional stimulation. Make sure you include all of these in anything that you're doing. When I'm talking about these are a part of your mainstream teaching. Okay. And how it helps? Emotional safety and social interaction activates learning networks across the brain. Moving on, music and rhythm. Very, very important. Like sports, music is one of the key things that helps create synapse and stronger learning. It enhances timing, memory, math-related pathways. So singing, clapping patterns, simple instruments. Give them the chance to, get used to the rhythm. Same rhyme that you did, wheels on the bus. Let's learn, a clapping pattern. I'm sure you know several patterns. It's like wheels on the bus go, same tune. Clap your hands and wiggle your fingers. Many of you would know. Clap your hands, wiggle your fingers. Clap your hands, wiggle your fingers. We have made a pattern, right? Stamp your feet, wave your shoulders. Stamp your feet, wave your shoulders. We have made a pattern. Rub your hands, raise your eyebrows. Rub your hands, raise your eyebrows. It's very difficult to coordinate that concentration. Rub your hands, raise your eyebrows. We have made a pattern. Let's sing that together. In your homes, in your classes, you can do it. Okay? Clap your hands and wriggle your fingers. Clap your hands and wriggle your fingers. Clap your hands and wriggle your fingers. We have made a pattern. Stamp your feet and wave your shoulders. Stamp your feet and wave your shoulders. Stamp your feet and wave your shoulders. We have made a pattern. Rub your hands and raise your eyebrows. Rub your hands and raise your eyebrows. Rub your hands and raise your eyebrows. We have made a pattern. So children, can we all do it together? Clap your hands and wriggle your fingers. Stamp your feet and wave your shoulder. Rub your eyes and raise your eyebrows. We have made a pattern. Children would just love such kind of, clapping patterns, rhythm, timing. All that is important. Very simple things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. There's so many things that you can do with clapping patterns. And not because of shortage of time, we were not going into it. Okay, so environment matters. See, just on an online, how much of joy and creativity we are trying to share with one another. You are live on the chat. So environment matters to even adults. So predictable routines, even a classroom setting, organized classroom setting where the child knows where to go for toys, where to go for, the books, where to go for the putting the sharpener, the shavings of the pencils. All these organized things help the brain to understand things. Synapse, remember the highways? We are making it strong. Warm and responsive adults, low stress makes the environment better for learning. Every day, greeting the children when they're coming. Okay, definitely. Good morning. Give them a high five, or you have your own, creative ways of doing it. But if you create chronic stress, that weakens synapses. Okay, while supportive relationships strengthen it. So the key takeaways that I would like to say is that play, movement, language, emotional safety, if you take care of all of these while you are teaching any of your subjects, optimal synapses growth happen. Quickly moving on, we understand NEP 2020 that we are dealing with 3 to 6 years of age. Here, as I mentioned earlier, we are talking about domains. We are not talking about subjects. Physical. Didn't we do something physical today? Yes. Did we connect social emotionally with the story? Yes. Cognitive development, when you ask a question, when you make puzzles, when you draw something out, your cognitive development is happening. Language and literacy, aesthetic. So these things are the recommended domains and corresponding, your curricular goals. And from curricular goals come competency. Basically, NCF is talking about moving away from the rote learning method, A, B, C, D, those kind of rote learning one after the other, moving away from rote learning to building competencies. And to reach the competencies, you have to further divide your lessons into learning outcomes. Let's quickly understand what is competency. Competency, let's say driving is a competency. Is driving measurable and observable ability? Yes, otherwise you wouldn't get a license. It is measurable. You go to the RTO and give the test, right? It's measurable. It's an observable. You are able to drive. That's an observable ability. But you had to apply knowledge to it. You had to develop practice and develop that skill. But if you have the ability, if you have the knowledge and you are able to drive, but if you don't have values, if you don't have attitude, you are not ready to obey the rules of traffic, are you a competent driver? No. And how do you test that? In an authentic context, in a real life context. That is competency. Same goes for our children. When you're teaching content, that is knowledge, concepts, facts, understanding, that is knowledge. But as we transact the knowledge, we develop skills. What skills? Physical motor skills, cognitive skills, thinking skills, language, communication, social, emotional, and so on and so forth. Okay, but alongside enveloped with values and attitudes. That's competency. So we are in the process of building competencies, not just content transaction. And what are the skills that NCF talks about? 21st century skills. In a circle time, what happens? Collaboration. When is storytelling? Creativity. When you are asking an open-ended question, critical thinking. Scientific temper, when you ask the child to go out and observe something in the nature, there is scientific development, the curiosity in a child develops, communication, social responsibility. We discussed all of this, how these skills needs to be developed. Finally, coming to the pedagogy. Pedagogy this is recommended by NCF, where there is an introduction of a topic. Let's say you're teaching fruits. You introduce the category to them, you give them examples, that is conceptual understanding. Then the child practices identification of the object, the name of the object, and all of that through practice. Finally, the child has to apply it in a real life context, or maybe in a classroom setting, the application of whether go and pick up that thing, that pineapple from that basket. So the application. Finally, when he goes out with the mother into the, world out, he goes to the vendor and says, I want this apple. So that is his understanding. So this is the process, or this is the pedagogy for introduction of any concept. The NCF also talks about GRR, gradual release of responsibility. How did I introduce fruits? I do. That is, as a teacher, I introduce the concept, but then we together do experience. We bring in apples, we bring in bananas, they touch, they feel, they tactile, there's a rhyme. We do it together, we learn it together. And then I create an assessment, or I create an activity where go and get that. Do you know where is the apple hidden? Go and find out the apple. So he does it. That is, the student does it. Finally, you do it alone. That is, the child does it alone in real life. That is the process. we were talking about leaf, and coming to the final closing of it. First, the child learns from me. I do it. We learn a concept. Then we do it together. We experience. Even learning is an experience. So together, first I do, then we do it together. Then the child applies and you do it. And then finally, there is fun in real life when the child goes out and explores, creates something of his own. That is leave for you. Teachers, finally, some more time. We have 5 more minutes. I'll close before that. This is a STEAM engagement, worksheet. It's from one of our books. So it's very simple, but can we make it more interesting for the child? It, of course, has a lot of science. You have to decide the patterns, the number of fruits, what could be the size of the bowl. All these decisions the child has to make. So this is a STEAM activity, okay? And aesthetically, how's he going to present it? So all of these things are coming into the simple making of a fruit salad. So I thought, why not do a rhyme for that, okay? This is, if it is for nursery, make it tactile. Bring the fruits, show them this is an apple, this is an orange. You get the real ones also. This is a banana, this is a pear, this is a grape and strawberry. So can we sing it? Fruit salad, yes I love. Fruit salad, yes I love. Fruit salad, yes I love. Mix it with cream and jelly. Apple, orange, banana, mango, or yes, a pear, grapes, and strawberry. Cut them, put them in a bowl, mix it with cream and jelly. Fruit salad, so yummy. Fruit salad tastes yummy. Fruit salad tastes yummy. Would you like to have it? You can also make visual things like this. The same thing. If you have, just use ice cream sticks and do such kind of things. I'm sure you'll get good at all that. Finally, teachers, the most important investment you can make is in yourself. Because if you invest in yourself, you will be the better person. You will be the best version of yourself. Just look at this video. If you can hear, I don't know if you can hear, just let me know. It's about a celebrity and her journey. Can you hear?
But when I started working, like in Ahmedabad, for
Yes,
example,
it's audible.
there was a moment where, and once the 40-something take had happened and I didn't get it right, I remember Raju Khan was the choreographer at that time, who's Sarojji's son. He threw his mic down. He said, just because you're Miss World, you think you can become an actress? Go learn how to dance and then come back and perform. So there were multiple things that I had to achieve at that point. And luckily, Akshay's wife went into labor at that point, so the schedule was cut short. And we came back to India just for a break. And I remember going to Pandit Viru Krishnan's class and I started learning Kathak. I did about 6 hours every single day.
Wow.
And then when I went back for the next schedule, I knew so much more. And that day I realized, if you learn, even if you don't know something, if you have an ambition to be somewhere, if you prepare yourself, you have the ability to be better than everyone else. But when I started working, like in Ahmedabad.
Yes, that's the message I want to give you. Many of us may not know some things, but if you want to learn, you just have to practice. You just have to read up, and then you will be the best version of yourself. Thank you so much, teachers, for this wonderful time. I think I have kept the time. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you, Pallavi, over to you. Thank you so much.
Yes. So now thank you, ma'am. It was a wonderful session. I think if we couldn't get even a second to wink our eyes, it was so much engaging. Thank you so much. And if teachers, if you're comfortable, you can, now it's time. I can see 2 of them have raised their hand. Sabha, ma'am, would you like to ask something directly? You can unmute and ask now. It's your time. If you want, you can unmute and ask the question directly. Or if somebody wants to put it in the chat box, we will take up the questions. Sabha, ma'am, would you like to go directly?
Thank you so much. Thank you, teachers.
Wonderful. Right. Yes, so there are many thank you which is coming up. If no questions, no problem. Teachers, just to inform you, I have already put the feedback link in the chat box. I'm resending it. So please fill it. And if you have further queries post this session also, if you have any queries, you can anytime please, get in touch with us through our social media pages, through LinkedIn, Facebook, and you can write a mail to us. We will surely make sure we will reply to that with our, whatever possible way. Right. So as we come to the end of the session, it's really, my honor to say thank you. So as we come to the close of today's session, let us reflect on a powerful message that Miss Suja emphasized. No, today we love to hear you as Leo and Ziggy, not Suja. Thank you, ma'am. So, ma'am, the message you provided, that the environment we create shapes how children's brains grow. In the early years, learning is strengthened through repetition. When children are given repeated opportunities to explore, revisit, and respond. Sensory-rich experiences, seeing, hearing, touching, moving, and talking, make learning deeper and more meaningful, supporting not only cognitive growth, but also social, emotional, and physical development. Ms. Suja also reminded us of the importance of positive emotions. When children feel safe, joyful, and curious, they're better able to focus, understand, and remember. And above all, play remains the most powerful learning tool, where children naturally learn, engage, and apply in developmentally appropriate ways. As pre-primary educators, let us take this as our key takeaway to intentionally design classrooms that follow the learn, engage, apply, and have fun cycle through play, repetition, sensory experiences, and joy. In doing so, we are not just teaching content, we are building strong foundations for lifelong learning. Thank you, Ms. Suja, and thank you to all the teachers for your active participation and commitment to nurturing young minds. So your participation means a lot to us. Wishing you happy teaching and joyful learning ahead. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you, Pallavi. Thank you, teachers, for the wonderful messages and encouraging ones. I am happy that you learned something, and I am also taking back a lot of good memories with me. Thank you so much. All the best. Happy early years for the children and for you as a teaching experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you.